Alex, look at you. You call this a job? You can't even set the table right. Mom's voice cut through the kitchen like a knife. I tried, Mom, I stammered, dropping the fork I was holding. Tried isn't good enough. Dad slammed his hand on the table. You're a joke, Alex. Always have been. I gritted my teeth, my stomach twisting. I'm 17, 23 now, I'm doing my best. Your best? Mom laughed, sharp and cruel. Your best got you nowhere. No college, no job, no future. You're a burden. I felt heat rising in my chest. I can't believe you're saying this, after everything I've done. Everything you've done? Dad barked, his face red. You think a few errands and odd jobs count? You're worthless, Alex. I can't have someone like you under my roof any longer. What? You're kicking me out? I stared at him, my heart hammering. Yes. Pack your things. Now. Mom's voice was cold, final. I couldn't breathe. My hands shook as I grabbed a bag, stuffing in the few clothes I owned. This isn't fair, I whispered, more to myself than to them. Fair? Dad laughed. Life isn't fair. Now leave. I stumbled down the front steps, the evening air biting at my skin. Every insult replayed in my head like a broken record. Worthless. Burden. Joke. The word stung, but a fire lit inside me. I walked aimlessly through the city streets, my bag slung over my shoulder, stomach growling. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't go back. My parents didn't want me. Hey, you look lost, a voice called out. I looked up at a small cafe. The sign read Jenna's Brew. Behind the counter, a woman waved, her hair tied back and eyes sharp but kind. Yeah, I said cautiously. I'm Jenna. You look like you could use a warm drink and maybe a break from the world. She smiled. Want to come in? I hesitated, then nodded. Sure, thanks. Inside, the scent of coffee and pastries wrapped around me like a small hug. I sank into a chair. I don't even know where to start, I admitted, my voice low. You start wherever you want, she said, pouring me a cup of coffee. Tell me, kid, what's wrong? I got kicked out. By my parents. They said I'm worthless, I muttered, staring into the dark liquid. I have nowhere to go. Jenna leaned on the counter. That's rough. But hey, you survived this long, right? That's already more than a lot of people. You want a temporary job? I could use some help around here. Really? You do that for me? My voice cracked. Yeah. You need a start, and I need a helping hand. Seems fair. I swallowed hard, hope stirring for the first time that day. I'll do it. Thank you. She nodded, a grin breaking across her face. Good. We start tomorrow. First day's always the hardest, but you'll manage. I left the cafe that evening with a strange mix of exhaustion and relief. For the first time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I could survive this, and someday, prove them wrong. Alex, are you sure you know how to fix the coffee machine? Jenna asked, raising an eyebrow as I knelt beside the stubborn contraption. I think so, I mumbled, twisting a wire with shaking hands. It's just a fuse, maybe a loose connection. She leaned against the counter, arms crossed. I'm trusting you. Don't burn the place down. I won't, I muttered, gritting my teeth. Inside, I felt a familiar mix of fear and determination. I couldn't mess this up, not now. Not after everything. A man's voice interrupted. Need a hand? I looked up. A tall man in a crisp suit was smiling at me. I'm Marcus, he said, extending a hand. I own a few tech companies downtown. Saw you fiddling with the machine. You've got steady hands. Thanks, I said, wiping sweat from my forehead. He crouched beside me. Ever thought about working with computers professionally? I laughed nervously. Me? No. I never had the chance. Why not? My parents, I trailed off, clenching my jaw. They never believed in me. Kicked me out. Said I'd amount to nothing. Marcus nodded slowly. I get it. I wasn't born with silver spoons either. But talent like yours? It shouldn't go to waste. Really? I asked, heart pounding. You mean that? Absolutely. I could mentor you. Teach you some skills, maybe even help you get a start. I swallowed hard, a mix of hope and fear bubbling up. I don't know what to say. I don't want to mess it up. You won't, he said confidently. But you have to want it more than anything. Ready to put in the work? Yes. I'll work harder than anyone. Good. Tomorrow, bring your determination. I'll show you the ropes. Jenna chuckled from behind the counter. Looks like you found your first supporter, kid. I smiled faintly, feeling a small spark of pride. Yeah, maybe. It feels different when someone actually believes in you. The next few days were brutal. I cleaned, repaired, and learned everything Marcus taught me. My hands ached, my brain spun, but each small success built confidence. Alex, you've got potential, Marcus said one evening as I finished debugging a simple program. Ever thought about creating your own software? Maybe, I admitted. But I don't have the money, or the experience, or... You'll get there, he interrupted. Start small. Every expert was once a beginner. Late nights, I juggled odd jobs, delivery work, repairing gadgets, even helping Jenna at the cafe. Each coin I earned felt like a victory. Each completed task reminded me I wasn't worthless. One night, counting my meager savings, I whispered to myself, I did it. I can actually survive on my own. I can, maybe even thrive. Jenna appeared in the doorway. You look tired, Alex. But proud, too. That's good. You're learning what it means to stand on your own. I smiled, exhaustion mixing with triumph. Yeah, and I'm not going back. Never again. For the first time since being thrown out, I felt like I had a future I could shape. Small, uncertain, but mine. And tomorrow, I'd keep building, step by step. Alex, these numbers don't add up, Marcus said, leaning over my laptop. Are you sure you ran the projections correctly? I double-checked, I replied, rubbing my eyes. I don't understand. Everything seemed right yesterday. Maybe your system got hacked, Marcus muttered, frowning. I slammed my hand on the table. Hacked? Who would even? My voice trailed off as anger and fear churned inside me. Not now. I can't let this ruin everything I've built. You've been working too much, Jenna said softly, placing a cup of coffee beside me. Maybe take a break. I don't have time to break, Jenna, I snapped, immediately regretting it. Her eyes softened, but I looked away. I have to fix this before it gets worse. Just then, a man in a tailored suit walked in. Alex Carter? His tone was sharp. I'm Toby, CEO of Verker Tech. Heard you're making waves in the industry. Impressive, for someone with no experience. I straightened in my chair, irritation flaring. Thanks, I guess. What do you want? Just curious, Toby said, smirking. I like to keep an eye on new competition. Especially the ones people write off. Something in his tone made my stomach tighten. He's not here to be friendly. I nodded stiffly. Good to know. He lingered for a moment, then left. I sighed, feeling the old familiar weight of my parents' words pressing down. Worthless. Burden. Joke. But I refused to let it break me again. Jenna sat beside me, placing a hand on my shoulder. You can handle this. You've come too far to let someone intimidate you. I know, I muttered, eyes on the screen. It's just, sometimes I wonder if I'm ready for this. If I'm cut out for it. Alex, you're already doing it, she said firmly. Stop doubting yourself. I nodded, swallowing hard. That night, I worked until my eyes burned, rewriting code, fixing bugs, and drafting proposals. Sleeplessness clawed at me, but I couldn't stop. Not after everything. Why are you working so hard? Jenna asked during a rare moment when I leaned back. You've already achieved more than most. Because, I said, staring at the ceiling, I never want to go back to being powerless. My parents, they kicked me out, told me I'd fail. I need to prove, at least to myself, that I can succeed. She smiled faintly. Then let's make sure you do. Weeks passed. I balanced small contracts, learning fast, making mistakes, and fixing them. Every rejection hurt, but I reminded myself, survival meant perseverance. One evening, my phone rang. Alex? This is Leona from Tech World. We reviewed your proposal, we want to move forward with a pilot project. I froze. You, really? Yes. We're impressed with your innovation. Expecting great things. I sank into my chair, disbelief and relief washing over me. I can't believe it. I did it. Jenna appeared behind me, eyes shining. You did. You earned this, Alex. All those sleepless nights, all the doubt, you made it count. I leaned back, closing my eyes. It feels amazing. Finally, someone believes in me, besides you and Marcus. Then don't stop, Jenna said, nudging me playfully. Keep climbing. You've got this. I looked at my laptop, at the numbers, the contracts, the client list. For the first time in years, I felt a flicker of pride. I had turned survival into progress, struggle into opportunity. And no one, not my parents, not Toby, not anyone, could take that from me. I whispered to myself, more determined than ever, this is just the beginning. I won't stop until I reach the top. Alex. Congratulations. Marcus clapped me on the back as I unlocked the door to my first apartment. Look at you. A place of your own. I laughed, dropping my bag on the floor. It still feels unreal. I actually did it. You earned it. All those late nights, all the sacrifices, Marcus said. You've come a long way. Yeah, I muttered, glancing around the small apartment. Feels good to finally have something that's mine. A few days later, I stood outside a car dealership, keys in hand. I can't believe this is mine, I said, grinning at the sleek car. Jenna leaned on the doorframe. You deserve it, Alex. Just remember where you came from. I won't forget, I said, sliding into the driver's seat. Pride and satisfaction buzzed through me. Then came the awkward encounter. I walked into a small grocery store to grab dinner, and I froze. My parents, Richard and Helen, were there, arguing with the cashier. They didn't notice me. I swallowed a tight laugh. Of course. They act like nothing's changed. Nothing at all. Alex? Is that you? Mom's voice finally cut through. I kept my eyes forward, pretending not to notice. Hey, I said quietly, letting the silence linger. Dad glanced at me, eyes cold. Oh, it's you. I looked away, feeling satisfaction mixed with anger. They ignored me for years, and now they're pretending I don't exist. Funny how things work. Later, back at my apartment, Marcus called. Alex, there's someone I think you should meet. She's a designer, talented, creative, ambitious. Could be the perfect partner for your company. I frowned. Another person to test my patience? Trust me, he said. She's different. You'll see. The next morning, Sophie walked into the office. Hi, Alex. I heard a lot about your work, she said, extending her hand. I think we could do something great together. I studied her, noticing the confidence and spark in her eyes. I like your energy, I said, shaking her hand. We could use someone like you. Marcus grinned. See? Told you. She's brilliant. Sophie smiled. I hope I can live up to it. You will, I assured her. I've got high standards, but I also believe in people who work hard. Days turned into weeks. Sophie's designs transformed the company, clients were impressed, and my confidence grew. Each success felt sweeter knowing my parents were still struggling. Jenna dropped by one evening, carrying a bag of groceries. Alex, I saw your folks at the store again, she said softly. Did you? I didn't say anything, I admitted, sipping my coffee. Let them stew. They made their choices years ago. Jenna smiled. Good. You're finally learning what it means to protect yourself and keep moving forward. I leaned back in my chair. It's strange. I feel satisfaction, but also, this lingering anger. They abandoned me, and now I'm moving up while they stay stuck. Karma's funny. It's not just karma, Jenna said. It's your hard work. You earned everything. I nodded, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. I can finally see it. I'm not just surviving. I'm living. And nobody can take this away from me. That night, I looked around my apartment, glanced at the new car, and smiled. For the first time, I felt a deep, quiet pride. The journey wasn't over, but I had my footing, my independence, and the knowledge that I could face anything. I whispered to myself, this is just the beginning. And this time, I decide what happens next. Alex, Damien wants to meet tomorrow, Sophie said, scrolling on her tablet. He says he has a new investment proposal. I narrowed my eyes. Damien, the guy Marcus warned me about? Yes. But he claims this one's legitimate, Sophie replied cautiously. I ran my fingers through my hair. Legitimate or not, I'm not letting anyone manipulate us again. Jenna appeared, holding 2 cups of coffee. You've been tense all morning. What's going on? I have to meet Damien, I said, voice tight. I feel uneasy. There's something off about him. Jenna sighed. You've got instincts for a reason. Trust them. The next day, Damien leaned back in his chair, smirking. Alex, I see potential in your company. I can help you expand faster than you imagined. Really? I asked, keeping my tone neutral. And how exactly would you help? He smiled. Capital, connections, guidance. You name it. I just need a small percentage of equity. Sophie whispered, he seems too smooth. Be careful. I nodded subtly. I appreciate the offer, Damien. But I need to think it over. After he left, my mind raced. Why does he feel like a trap waiting to snap? I paced the office, staring at spreadsheets. Something's wrong, I muttered. I can feel it. I've been burned before. I can't let it happen again. Sophie looked concerned. You think he's trying to sabotage us? I don't know, but I have a gut feeling. I can't ignore it. That night, I stayed late, digging through contracts and financial statements, tracing every unusual transaction. My heart pounded as the pieces clicked together. Damien had been diverting small amounts, manipulating vendors, and trying to undercut us. I slammed my fist on the desk. How dare he? After everything I've built. Rage boiled inside me, and I felt my old fears creeping back. Am I too trusting? Am I making the same mistakes again? Jenna appeared in the doorway. Alex, you need to calm down. You're not powerless here. You're smarter than him. Outsmart him. I exhaled sharply. You're right. I can't let him see me panic. I need to be ruthless. The next week, I confronted Damien. I've reviewed the numbers. I know what you're trying to do, I said, keeping my voice steady. His confident smile faltered. I don't know what you mean. Don't lie to me, I said, stepping closer. You thought you could manipulate my company. You underestimated me. I won't let you ruin what I built. Sophie and Jenna stood beside me. Sophie's eyes blazed. You're done here, Damien. He hesitated, realizing he'd been cornered. This isn't over, he muttered, leaving quickly. I sank into my chair, exhausted but triumphant. I did it, I whispered. I didn't let him win. I protected everything. Jenna handed me a coffee. See? You're learning to trust your instincts and fight back. That's what matters. Sophie nodded. And you did it without losing who you are. That's what makes you strong, Alex. I took a deep breath, staring at my laptop. I can't afford to let anyone manipulate me again. Not Damien, not anyone. I'll survive this. I'll thrive. And if anyone ever tries, they'll regret it. For the first time in days, I felt calm. My trust in myself, and the loyalty of those who truly cared, was stronger than any betrayal. I whispered quietly to myself, a promise I intended to keep, no one will ever take me down again. I can't believe it, I muttered, staring at the sleek gates of my new mansion. All of this, mine. Jenna stepped beside me, arms crossed, smiling. Looks like someone finally made it. I did, I said, voice low, almost in disbelief. Months of struggle, sleepless nights, and now this. I actually made it. Sophie appeared, holding a folder of contracts. Alex, everything's in order. The final payments cleared this morning. Congratulations. I ran a hand over my face. It feels surreal. I never thought I'd see the day. A sudden ring of my phone interrupted the moment. I frowned and glanced at the screen. My parents' number. My chest tightened. I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. Hello? Alex, it's your father, Dad said, his voice shaky. We don't have anywhere to go. We're in trouble. Can you let us stay with you? I froze. My fingers tightened around the phone. What? My voice was sharp, disbelief laced with anger. You're asking me for help? After years of ignoring me, telling me I was worthless, and kicking me out? Mom's voice joined, trembling. Please, Alex. We made mistakes. We need a place to stay. We have nothing. I sat down, my mind racing. Nothing? Nothing after everything they did to me? The rage bubbled, but beneath it, a strange thrill, the power I now held over them. I don't know, I said slowly, my voice calm but tense. Do you know how it feels to be abandoned? To be told you're a burden? To live on the streets because of your own parents? Dad swallowed. We're sorry. We were wrong. Please, Alex. I could hear Jenna whispering behind me. You don't have to decide now. Think it through. Sophie nodded. You've earned the right to choose how this plays out. I took a deep breath. You left me. You chose pride over family. And now you want to come back. Mom's voice cracked. Yes, we made mistakes. But we're desperate. Please. I laughed softly, bitterly. Desperate, huh? You know, desperate can teach you a lot about humility. Funny how life works. Dad's voice trembled. Alex, we'll do anything. Just a place to stay. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. I could forgive. I could reject. Or I could teach them a lesson. The thought made a small, dark smile curl at the corner of my lips. They thought they controlled me once. Now, I control everything. I'll tell you what, I said, voice steady, almost cold. I might consider letting you stay. But not without rules. You'll follow my terms, or you won't be here at all. Understand? Yes, they said immediately, desperation in every syllable. I hung up and looked at Jenna and Sophie. This is just the beginning. They'll learn what it's like to be humbled. And I'm ready. Jenna frowned. Alex, are you sure? You're not being too harsh? I shook my head, a mix of satisfaction and resolve in my eyes. No. They need to understand. And I need to see it for myself, what it's like to have power and control. To never be powerless again. Sophie smiled faintly. Then it's settled. You'll handle it your way. And this time, you're in charge. I stared at the mansion, at the gates, at the life I'd built. This is my world now. And everyone else will learn their place. I whispered to myself, a thrill running through me. Finally. I hold the cards. Welcome to your new home, under my rules, I said, standing in the grand foyer as my parents shuffled in, arms full of suitcases. Mom sniffed, her face wrinkled in confusion. Alex, it's bigger than I expected. I smiled faintly. Bigger, yes. But that doesn't mean you get to ignore the rules. Everything here has a purpose. You follow them, or you're out. Dad scoffed. Rules? I'm your father, Alex. I shouldn't have to. You shouldn't? Funny. Last time I checked, you kicked me out. Let's not rewrite history. My tone was calm but sharp. Mom glanced around nervously. What are the rules? I motioned to Evelyn, my assistant, who stepped forward. She'll guide you. Think of it as life lessons. Nothing harsh, just enough to remind you humility is earned. Evelyn smiled politely. Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. Carter. Let's start with something simple, organizing the pantry by expiration date. Ready? Dad groaned. You want us to, what? Mom whispered under her breath, is this some kind of joke? It's not a joke, I said firmly. I worked hard to build everything you abandoned. You'll respect that. Start with the pantry. Half an hour later, I walked into the kitchen. Mom's face was red, Dad's shirt was wrinkled from awkward bending, and everything was slightly out of order. Dad, you're holding the soup upside down, I pointed out, suppressing a smirk. I don't see what's wrong, he muttered, frustration creeping in. Mom huffed. This is ridiculous. Why can't we just hire someone? You could, I said, leaning against the counter. Or you could learn to appreciate hard work. Your choice. Evelyn whispered to me, they're taking it seriously, in their own stubborn way. It's working. I nodded, feeling a small thrill. The arrogance I remember, crumbling right in front of me. Still, a twinge of empathy lingered. They were lost once, too. But they should have thought of me before. Over the next few days, I devised small tasks, folding laundry by type and color, preparing meals from scratch, and learning to maintain the mansion's garden. Each task simple but tedious, enough to humble them. Alex. I can't believe we're doing this, Dad muttered one evening as he carried a tray of dishes. You said we needed rules, Mom added, glaring. You can't expect us to function like servants. I smiled faintly. I'm not asking you to be servants. I'm asking you to understand the effort behind what you once dismissed. Empathy comes from experience. They exchanged frustrated glances but complied, realizing there was no other option. One morning, I found them struggling with the garden hose. Need help? I asked, amusement lacing my tone. Dad wiped sweat from his forehead. Fine. Maybe a little. Mom grumbled, I never thought I'd admit it, this is harder than I imagined. I leaned on the fence, watching them. Satisfaction bubbled inside me. This is poetic justice. Small, sharp reminders of humility. Evelyn nudged me. They're learning. Slowly, but it's sinking in. I nodded. Good. Let them face the discomfort they ignored in me. But, not too much. There's a line. I can't lose myself in revenge. By evening, Mom dropped onto a garden chair, exhausted. Dad leaned against the porch railing, defeated. I felt a quiet thrill, justice, subtle and careful, was in motion. I whispered to myself, savoring the moment, this is just the beginning. Let them learn, and maybe, just maybe, they'll finally understand. I was reviewing the bills in the study when Dad approached, holding an envelope like it weighed a ton. Alex. I think you should see this. I raised an eyebrow. What is it? He hesitated, then handed it over. Old employment documents, taxes, termination letters, things you never asked about. I frowned and flipped through them. My stomach sank. Wait, you lost your job years ago? Dad nodded slowly. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to seem weak. Your mother, she was worried about the family image. We thought we could handle it, but we failed. I dropped into a chair, heart pounding. So all those years, the insults, the neglect, it wasn't just arrogance? It was fear. Mom's voice trembled from the doorway. Alex, we were ashamed. We didn't know how to ask for help without looking like failures. I swallowed hard. Rage collided with something unexpected, guilt. So you lied, and hurt me, because you were scared? Yes, Dad admitted quietly. We made terrible mistakes. We thought you'd be fine, but we drove you away. I closed my eyes, the anger and confusion swirling inside me. I've worked so hard to survive their rejection, and now this? Do I punish them, or forgive? Later, I met Leo at the cafe. Alex. Long time no see, he exclaimed, pulling me into a firm hug. Leo, it's been years, I said, smiling faintly. I needed someone to talk to. He studied me. You look different. Stronger. And richer, by the looks of it. I chuckled bitterly. Yeah. Life's funny. I went from nothing to everything. But it's not just about money. It's about them. My parents. I don't know what to do. Leo nodded. You've always been smart, Alex. But money doesn't fix emotional wounds. You need to decide if you want revenge or closure. I leaned back, thinking. Part of me wants them to feel what I felt. Another part feels guilty. They weren't entirely heartless. Just scared and weak. Leo frowned. Then maybe you need a test. Something to see if they've changed. To prove to yourself and them that growth is possible. I looked at him. Exactly. But it has to be fair. They can't just apologize and be done. They need to show humility. Responsibility. That evening, I called my parents into the living room. We need to talk. You've lived here under rules for weeks. You've learned some lessons, but now, I need one final test. Dad's eyes widened. Test? Yes. A simple one. You'll each manage a project for a week, cook, clean, handle errands, and manage your schedules independently. No help from Evelyn or me. If you succeed, I'll consider your transformation genuine. Mom's voice quivered. Alex, we'll do it. Anything. We want to prove ourselves. I nodded, trying to keep my expression neutral. Good. But remember, failure isn't an option. The stakes are higher than before. This isn't about punishment, it's about responsibility. They glanced at each other nervously, and I felt a surge of control, tempered with empathy. I can guide them, but they have to walk the path themselves. Later, alone in my study, I whispered to myself, weighing the mix of anger and compassion. This is the moment. They'll either rise or fall. And I'll know if forgiveness is deserved. Alex, are you sure about this? Jenna asked, frowning as we prepared the living room for the gathering. I have to be, I said, straightening my tie. They need to face everyone, publicly acknowledge what they did. No more hiding. Sophie nodded, holding a tray of refreshments. It'll be intense. But I know you can do it. You've earned this moment. Evelyn adjusted the chairs. Everyone's almost here. They'll see the truth. When my parents arrived, their expressions were wary. Mom whispered, Alex, do we really have to do this? Yes, I said, my voice calm but firm. This isn't punishment. This is accountability. Face your mistakes. Admit them to everyone who matters. Dad cleared his throat. Alex, Not yet, I interrupted. Sit down. Everyone's waiting. As friends and family filed in, I took a deep breath. This is the moment. The moment they learn humility. And I claim my peace. I began. Mom, Dad, you abandoned me. You told me I was worthless. You kicked me out, humiliated me, and never believed in me. Today, you will speak the truth in front of those you hurt. Mom's eyes filled with tears. I was afraid. I thought I could protect our image. I never meant to hurt you so deeply, Alex. Dad swallowed, voice trembling. I lost my job, and I let my pride blind me. I treated my own son like a burden. I'm sorry. I looked at them, heart pounding. Finally. The truth. The acknowledgement I deserved. One by one, I turned to our friends and family. You heard it. They hurt me. But they are admitting it now. That's their first step? And my step is to decide how this ends. Mom sniffled. Alex, please. We'll do anything to make it right. Anything? I asked, leaning forward. Including respecting the rules that I've taught you? Taking responsibility for your actions? Yes, Dad said, voice shaking. I glanced at Jenna, Sophie, Evelyn, and Marcus. They nodded subtly, their support steady. I felt a surge of strength. I'm not alone. I've built a life, an empire, and I control it. I turned back to my parents. Good. Then you will continue living here, following the rules you've learned. You will manage tasks, face challenges, and show everyone you've truly changed. If you fail, there are consequences. Mom shivered. We understand. We'll do it. We promise. Dad bowed his head. We'll follow your guidance. Thank you for giving us this chance. I exhaled slowly, the tension in my chest releasing. This is not just about punishment. It's about growth. About showing that actions have consequences. About learning humility and respect. You will be tested, but you have the opportunity to redeem yourselves. A small smile tugged at my lips. They finally see the weight of their past choices. They finally feel the discomfort they caused. Jenna stepped closer. You did it, Alex. You stood your ground, but you also gave them a chance. Sophie added, and you kept your integrity. That's what matters. Evelyn smiled softly. It's rare to see someone transform struggle into this kind of strength. Marcus patted my shoulder. You've done more than just succeed in business. You've taken control of your life, your family, and your destiny. That's true power. I looked at my parents, humbled and ashamed, then at my friends, my mentors, my team. Pride and triumph coursed through me. I survived. I grew. I triumphed. And now, justice, karma, and my own peace are in motion. I whispered quietly to myself, feeling finality and strength. This is my life. My rules. And no one can take it from me. I stood by the balcony, the city lights glittering below, and let out a slow breath. It's over, I whispered to myself, the words strange and freeing. Jenna stepped up beside me. It looks like you finally found peace. I shook my head slightly. Not complete peace, but enough. Enough to move forward without their shadows dragging me down. Sophie appeared with a tray of tea. They're gone, Alex. Your parents left, humbled and, hopefully wiser. They are, I said, watching the driveway empty. And I'm okay with that. Not because they deserve forgiveness. They don't. But I deserve peace. And freedom from anger. Evelyn joined us quietly. You've grown so much. From a scared, abandoned kid to someone who can lead a company, control a mansion, and guide people morally as well as professionally. I laughed softly, thinking of the path I had walked. I never thought I'd get here. From sleeping on streets, working odd jobs, dodging betrayal, to this. A life I chose, shaped by my own hands. Jenna smiled. And you've kept your humanity, Alex. That's rare. You didn't become cold, just wiser. I nodded, remembering every sleepless night, every moment of self-doubt, every victory small and large. I've learned that success isn't just money or status. It's control over yourself, your decisions, and knowing you won't let anyone diminish your worth again. Sophie sipped her tea. And you've learned that people can change, or at least be taught lessons. Your parents, they got their wake-up call. I chuckled, bittersweet. Karma, in a way. They're humble now, aware of what they lost. But the lesson isn't cruelty, it's clarity. And I needed to give it to them for myself, not for revenge. Evelyn leaned on the railing beside me. Do you regret letting them live here, even for a short time? I shook my head firmly. No. It was necessary. I learned patience, empathy, and how to wield authority responsibly. It wasn't just about teaching them, it was about testing myself. Could I be firm without being cruel? Could I protect my life without losing my soul? Jenna nodded. You passed. I smiled faintly, letting the warmth of their support settle in. I also realized that the people who matter, those who truly care, deserve loyalty. Marcus, you, Sophie, Evelyn, you were my pillars. Not blood. Not obligation. Real support is earned and chosen. Sophie grinned. And you chose well. I leaned back, feeling the mansion around me, not as a fortress or a trophy, but as proof of resilience. All of this, isn't about showing off. It's proof that rejection doesn't define you, poverty doesn't destroy you, and betrayal doesn't have to ruin your soul. It's proof that I survived, adapted, and thrived. Jenna reached over, touching my arm gently. And you're ready for whatever comes next. No ghosts from the past can haunt you now. I nodded, a quiet pride swelling in my chest. Yes. I've earned my life. My decisions. My future. And I will face it on my terms, free of fear, anger, or regret. I turned to the empty driveway one last time. Goodbye, Mom. Goodbye, Dad. May you find peace too. And may I never let anyone's choices control mine again. Sophie smiled softly. Here's to the next chapter. I exhaled, letting the cool night air wash over me. Here's to the next chapter, mine, fully mine. I whispered quietly, almost to myself, the weight lifting from my shoulders. I am Alex Carter. I am strong. I am free. And I am ready.